believe in what you're doing, believe in, you know, your dream, and be brave. You know, what I think my biggest advantage was I was never scared, because I never felt I had a lot to lose, because I didn't really have anything to start off with.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to RenmanMusicandBusiness.com. My name's Steve Rennie, and I am the Renman, and this little program is called Renman Live. And if you're out there looking to do something big in the music business today, folks, but need a little help, today you are in the right place. Our guest today is calling in all the way from London, England. Her name is Sarah Stennett, and she's one of the top managers, labels, attorneys, and publishers, and all-around great people from the UK, who's going to be sharing a little wisdom here with all you folks that are looking to do something big. Now, as I mentioned, if you're looking to do something big, you're going to need some help, okay? Anybody that's looking to do something big needs some help. And when it comes to doing our little webcast, I have a great team of folks that help me. I call them my little renegades over there. So let me introduce you to the gang real quick. Over in the corner, his name is Cody Ramos. We call him the Trojan Man. Hey, for all you folks watching it in the UK, Google University of Southern California. You'll get the insider gag, okay? Enough with our favorite jock. Now let's go to the brains behind the chat room and everything, the lovely, talented, killer Kira O'Neill. Hello, Kira.
Hi.
How you doing? Big day for Kira today. She demanded that I book our guest today, and I did what I was told as usual, okay? We've been doing the show now for a couple of years, and I believe this is our, 108th, 109th broadcast today?
110.
110, jeez, I don't know how it lasted that long, but here we are again. And what makes our show unique, I think, on the web is that for people that are looking to learn and network and meet some of the top people around, it's not only a great place to meet them, you get a chance to actually ask questions and get answers from the smartest, most talented people around. And to help you do that is my friend Kira O'Neill. But before we do that, we can't go any further without reminding you, if you don't ask, you don't get, folks. So ask your questions. Kira, tell them how to do it.
All right, make sure you head over to RenmanMB, you register, sign up, post your questions in advance on the live event page. Also, you can post your questions in the crowd surfing chat box to the right of the feed. I'll be in there. You can hashtag Renman Live, tweet it. It'll hit the crowd surfing feed if you want to share links and make friends. Also, you can call us on the hotline, which is, fantastic. If you call on the hotline, we got some prizes for you.
What can they get, Kira?
This is my favorite shirt, to be honest. The Fuck the Gatekeepers, Young Ren right there. That's my favorite. And then if you're not as brave and, you want to be polite, you can do the dream it, do it. Totally up to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? I know why Kira likes that other one, because Kira doesn't have a subtle bone in her body. She likes to rev it up. All right. Good job there, folks. So you know what to do. No wacky, stupid questions, or Kira boots you right the freaking heck out of here.
Absolutely,
okay?
I will.
All right. I want to get right to it. Look at our little friend over here. Buck Rennie, okay? We'd love to have Sarah in the office. Sarah, if you were here, that's where you'd be sitting, but today, little Buck's going to take your place. All right, down to business day. We've got a great guest today. I met her in a restaurant here in L.A. not too long ago, and I was having dinner with my friend, Mr. Nick Raphael. She's a lawyer. She's a music manager. She's an A&R whiz. She runs a record label, a management company, and a publishing company. I don't know where she finds the time to do all, but she's been unbelievably successful and is one of the top leaders in the music business in the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome us by Skype, Miss Sarah Stennett. Thanks for joining us here today and sharing a little of your wisdom.
My pleasure.
Okay. First off, most of the folks that are watching the show, Sarah, are people that are thinking about getting into music business, whether they're an artist or a music professional. So this has kind of been a little bit of a platform to give them a chance to meet some folks like yourself and learn. The question I ask everybody is about how they got started. So many people are trying to get started, they don't know how. And it's been my experience that there are as many different paths to getting involved in the music business as there are people that have done it. So I'd like to ask you, how did Sarah Stennett get involved in this wacky music business?
I think that it started with a thought of, I wonder if I could do something in the music business. I trained, you know, I grew up in Liverpool, and when I got asked when I was 16, you know, what do you want to do? What do you want to study? I just randomly came up with the idea I want to study law with just basically because I thought it sounded good, and I thought my mother would like it. Can you tell those guys down there to be quiet a bit? Sorry, there's a lot of screaming and shouting going on in my office. They must have just had some good news. So I thought, yeah, it sounds, law sounds good. And it kept me, my mother thought it sounded good too, because she was quite ambitious for me and had not had a lot of opportunities herself. And I went to university. I did a law degree, which was challenging because I wasn't somebody who was a natural academic. I did very well academically, but it didn't really interest me pouring through law books, you know, day in, day out. And then what happens in the UK, once you finish your law degree at university, you have to go to law school, which the key law schools in England are in pretty much sort of quite remote places. And the place I ended up going to was a place called Chester Law School. And I got there, and there were rows and rows of very focused, highly ambitious, want-to-be lawyers who knew exactly what they were doing and where they were going. And I realized when I got there that I was in trouble because I didn't feel I fitted into that mold, and it made me feel quite, you know, I don't know, I think it started to make me feel that I wasn't, you know, as good as them, so to speak, because I didn't have that. They were all going to work in the city and finance and just, you know, very driven people. And I did about 2 months of it, and I was so horrified at what the future had in store for me as a lawyer that I dropped out of law school. I went home and told my mother I don't want to be a lawyer, and she was horrified. My father was very supportive, and I basically spent the next few months messing around doing things like going grape picking in France and doing dead-end jobs. And by the end of it, I realised that I realised that I hadn't finished what I'd set out to do, and that I didn't really know what else to do. So I went back to law school, and whilst I was at law school this time, it literally was an idea. It just popped in my head one day, and it was like, I wonder if there's something like a music lawyer. That would be really cool. And there was, as I was to find out, and I was just very, very fortunate. I think the gods were on my side because I applied for one job. I had no idea that it was so competitive. And I applied for a job, went for an interview in London, which was very exciting, and I got this job. And that was really the start of it. And I think the reason I thought, I wonder if there's such a thing as a music lawyer, is I sort of, when I went to university when I was 18, when I left Liverpool, I met people who, you know, a lot of the students then were really, really into music. And I met this guy, I fell in love with a guy called Dominic, actually. And he was a sax player. And he listened to a lot of Marvin Gaye. And he introduced me really into the joys of, you know, basically listening to music in a different way. Primarily fueled by his introduction to me at the same time of marijuana. And Marvin Gaye sounded great when you were stoned for the first time.
Oh, so yeah.
That's where the music thing came from for me. And also I just felt like it would be fun, and it was really, really that simple. There was no great foresight. It was just one day I thought, could this happen? And you don't always need a plan. You know, I look at my niece now, she's 16, and she's got a whole life plan, and she knows what she's going to do. I never had a life plan like that. I just rolled with the chances, rolled with my thoughts, and tried to find things that would always interest me and engage me. And I think I think I've been very lucky as well. I wouldn't take luck out of the equation.
That's a great story, Sarah. You know, I almost went to law school myself and didn't quite make it. My mother was disappointed, and I always kid around that, you know, why don't you make your parents happy and go to law school, and then you did, and then you fucking went in the music business anyway. Let me ask you this. Along the way, you know, when you found your target, you figured out what it is that you wanted to do, did you have any mentors along the way that helped kind of fast track your learning process and say, hey, Sarah, here's how this really goes?
Mentors. I think that there's never been one specific mentor. I think during the course of my you know, adult life, there's been different people in my life who've influenced me and inspired me, you know, starting, of course, with my parents. And in terms of mentoring me through the business, I'm trying to think. I've looked up to people, you know, and I've thought, I remember when I first qualified as a lawyer, there was a lady who unfortunately did pass away, and her name was Jill Sinclair, and she was married to a producer called Trevor Horn, and they had a record label, and they were responsible for Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Tattoo and lots of other things. And I remember when I first went to work for my when I qualified as a lawyer, I went to work for Paul Spraggan. They dispatched me off to go meet this woman, Jill Sinclair, who's had big, massive offices and studios in Portobello Road. And actually, she was also smoking marijuana. It was like the crazy time of the music business. And she'd just had her 4th child 2 days previously or something, and she was in the office with the baby in hand, and this woman was scary. You know, she had a fierce reputation, and she just was a very, very big presence when you walked into a room with her. And she was loud and very charismatic, and people were like, oh, Jill Sinclair's on the phone. But she was a really, really inspiring woman. And I remember thinking then, wow, it's possible to have a career, be successful, and have children. And I think she was an inspiration in that she was the first clear acknowledgement to me that you can run things your way, and you can do things your way, and people can come to your party or not. And that I thought she was a very inspiring woman.
That's a great story. It's good stuff, and I think harder sometimes to find some women that you can relate to that are doing all those things. My wife worked in the record business and had kids and that stuff too, and it was kind of atypical. Let me ask you this, Sarah. So you start off as a manager, mom's happy, you're a little shaky, but you got it done. You meet some folks along the way, and somewhere along the way, you went from barrister to manager. I want you to talk a little bit about that. You've signed and managed some of the top artists in the business today, folks like Eli Goulding, Rita Ora, Iggy Azalea, a gentleman I listen to on the radio all the time here, Dan Kroll, who's a favorite of mine. I want to ask you, what is it that attracted you to management in general, and then specifically to those acts, and how you actually made that connection? People are always wondering, how do I get in touch with a great manager like Sarah Stennett? Talk about that if you would.
Okay, so I think the people I have ended up being involved with, I have sort of been put with in a way. They've just come into my life one way or another. And I think that they're pretty much usually people that, haven't got a lot of, they've not got a lot of interest in the business. They're not hyped acts. They're just people who are doing their thing and just talented at what they're doing. And I think that, for me as a lawyer, I just ended up getting involved with acts primarily because I just saw a lot of wasted talent, and I'd have people come in the office who were trying to be successful and who were writing stuff, and they wouldn't get signed, or people were, record companies weren't interested. And I just thought, this is crazy. This is really exciting, or they're very talented, or, there's a gap. And that's really how I got involved. It wasn't a conscious decision of this is what I'm going to do today. It was really, I think, when I got involved with the UK act Sugar Babes, there was a gentleman who was a very, very colourful, very talented guy called Ron Tom, who was, a guy who, had lived down in Notting Hill when it wasn't so posh as it is now. And he told me he'd found a couple of girls that he wanted to put in an act, and they were young girls, they were 14, and he'd asked me to get involved in it. And I knew then that there was a sense of responsibility about being involved with young people in the music business. And it wasn't just about let's get them to sign, a contract. You've got to understand how you're going to execute that, because you're getting involved in people's lives. And that's how I got involved, because I'd said that to him at the time. I said, you can't just sign something. You've got to have finances. You've got to be able to deliver it. Signing a young girl band is not as simple as just sign it. How are you going to pay for it? What are you going to do? So that's how I really got involved, and we raised some money to develop these girls, the Sugar Babes, and which there ended up 3 of them. And that was really the start for me. And then there were other, people who came my way, who I felt were talented and deserved an opportunity, or, there was just something that they could offer that wasn't happening in music. And really a lot of it, I think, was just when I get involved with an act, I have to start with, do I like this person? Is there something that's exciting about them? If I was at a dinner party, would I want to know about them? Do I want to hear what they've got to say? I don't need to agree with everything they say, but I want to hear what they say. And that's really how I get involved with people. I don't sit and, go through demos, or, it's more about, there's a great team of people here who work with me, who will, if they come across something that they think's exciting, or someone who's exciting, they'll, tell me. And I try and keep my hands very much on the wheel. I try to be connected with people and connected with the audience, and not become untouchable, and be approachable, allow people to come in. Like, people sometimes come in here and go, oh, we didn't think we'd ever get to see you. But for me, it's really, really important that I am available.
Yeah. You mentioned something there that struck me, that sometimes being a lawyer, here, certainly in America, it's a little bit more arm's distance relationship, a little bit more professional. But once you cross over into the management side, it becomes very personal, and you are involved in their lives and all the twists and turns that comes with that. And I know from my own experience as a manager that artist-manager relationship can be very tricky for any number of reasons. In your opinion, Sarah, what do you think is the single most important element of that successful artist-manager relationship?
Mutual respect.
Yeah.
You have to respect each other, and you have to remember, if the respect's not there, then you've got to call it a day.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very hard to be, when you're involved with people, involved in their lives, you are, emotionally it's very challenging as well.
Yeah.
And because you get committed to it, and you have to, you have to go with the rough and the smooth, and you commit to being together in the rough and the smooth, because it's not easy. Anybody's careers, being involved in people's lives and careers isn't easy. And a lot of these, a lot of artists that still, they're young. And when I look back, when I was like 18, 19, 20, early 20s, I was doing some really crazy shit then. And, I think that if you've got respect and people and they're prepared to learn, and also that goes for me, to listen to people, to understand people's visions, artists' visions, the behavior, what they're doing, what the wishes are, the dreams, their aspirations, then you can work together. It's got to be a mutually respecting relationship, or you just can't sustain it.
Yeah, you mentioned something at the top, too, that I think is so important, and our friend Nick Raphael mentioned, and I've said it a million times as well. If you're going to be involved in a deeply personal relationship like that, you need to like people. And so for all you folks that are out there watching today, take note of what Miss Stennett just said. You got to like people, and so be likable, and if you don't respect each other, you've got nothing. Okay, Sarah, this is great because you cover so many territories here, in addition to being a mom and a mother and a wife and all of that other stuff. What do we got there? Phone call. Okay, we're going to get to that one in a second. You also, in addition to being an attorney, and you still practice today, correct?
I don't actually practice. In terms of, I don't sit and negotiate a contract. I'm still a partner in the firm I established. And I, will consult for them. I'll give advice, in terms of, it's one thing having an agreement, which you negotiate, but the practical application of those agreements is shifting so rapidly. And how those agree, it's like if you're a lawyer and you're negotiating a recording agreement, for instance, it's like driving a plane without understanding, without ever having actually, it's like reading the manual but never actually flying the plane.
Yeah.
Because you've read the manual doesn't mean you can fly the plane. So a lot of the success that you want to ensure when you're entering into a commercial arrangement with a record company, it's very easy to put blanket clauses in there around, you will provide us with £100,000 worth of tour support, but there's a lot more complexities around making sure those agreements are practically as good as they can be. And I give a lot of support and advice to the law firm around the practical application of those agreements. But I don't day-to-day practice formally, but I put my understanding of the legal, practices of the music business in place every day.
Yeah, you mentioned a great comment there that touches home. So many folks, particularly here in the States, they think they study the music business by learning by contract. So please take note, folks. Here's an attorney who's telling you the contracts is one thing. Context is everything, because the contract, you don't live in the contract. You live in the real world when you're done, and so it's important to understand that. Let's talk about your work on the label side, right? You have a label called Turn First, and it's affiliated with the mighty Universal Music Group. We got a lot of friends there. Talk about how that came about and how that relationships work, because then I want to talk about this whole major label indie freaking debate that seems to be never ending.
Well, how it works, for instance, I'll give you a current example. We signed an amazing artist 2.5, 3 years ago called Jack Garrett, who is a brilliant multi-instrumentalist, amazing vocalist. He does a live show that I think is probably, one of the most accomplished live shows that one can see. Just performed in LA. And when he was introduced to me by one of the young guys who work with me here, called Sam Faulkner, he brought him in to meet me. And at the time, there was very, very little music. I think there were a couple of tracks, and he just was ambitious, but you could hear the vocal. He came in with his guitar, but it was very, very early days, and he needed to develop and not really be told, what to do, how to... basically, that was it. And we signed him. And what we did over a period of 2.5 years is we basically funded him to be a professional musician, to, write his songs, hone his craft without any pressure whatsoever. I mean, I literally would not, I'd maybe see him once every, 4 or 5 months. And he'd come in and play me some new material, but literally no pressure at all. And I think it's really, really important, as an artist develops, for him or for any artist to be able to have that space. And the minute you get into the major, corporate universal system, or any system for that matter, different rules start to apply. So what we allow somebody like Jack to do is to just fly under the radar, till they and you get to a point where it's like a natural point where you say, let's put something out, let's start releasing material. And that's when we'll start doing things. We'll start releasing material, release an EP, do things, and then effectively that's when the calls start coming in, and people don't necessarily know that those artists have been developed by us, because we'll keep our name off it at that point. And I think the first call that came in when we released material for Jack was from Rick Rubin, who, Rick Rubin contacted Jack and was like, "Oh my God, you're awesome, you're amazing, are you signed, blah, blah, blah." That's really how we do it. It's about giving people space, letting people experiment, and allow them to be a professional musician and a professional artist, and whilst they're in that process.
Yeah, and as you alluded to, with all due respect to our friends at major labels, patience is not necessarily their greatest virtue at the major label side. To do what you do, though, it's part of UMG, you must have some really terrific partners and relationships at the top of that company. Talk about the value of great partners in the music business.
Well, I think that it's been hugely important to me to have people who believe in what we're doing here at Turn First. We don't play by the book. People will, we do things. Some people are like, that's Sarah Stennett, she's fucking crazy. All the people in our office, they're all crazy. And we like being a bit crazy. We like doing things differently. I think that the people who have allowed me the space to continue to do it our way, to play by our own rules, to be different, to not have to conform. They're the people, like Lucien Grange and Boyd and at Universal, who've just said, you do your thing. Those relationships are very important. And in addition to that, I think that once you have an act that then, you know, goes into the major label system, it's very important that you know, those executives who you are planning and scheduling releases with understand what you bring to the table, and understand that, you know, when I have an opinion or someone in my company has an opinion, it's an opinion that's thought through and at least deserves to be listened to and debated. And you know, the people here, you know, the team of people here, both in the UK and the US, they are an environment, they're a culture of people who think and have been trained here to think differently, to make things happen in a way that's not necessarily always possible when you're inside a corporate structure. Yeah. And I think that, you know, that's one of the things everybody here is trained, that, you know, they'll be able to understand a producer's agreement and understand a digital marketing campaign, as well as understanding the importance of an aesthetic, you know, you know, photographers, you know, they're across the board. People are trained across the board by being in the environment and being attached to different individuals within the organization. So you're not you don't find yourself on a path as you're the digital person, you're this person. You are expected to be multidisciplinary here. Perfect. And yeah, good. I forgot the question.
Okay,
sorry.
Well, I got that's okay. Between the two of us, we'll figure out. We got some questions from our viewers here, and we got one on the phone. Kira, who you got there?
I got Liz from Los Angeles.
We got Liz from Los Angeles, cloudy Los Angeles. Say, Liz, you're on with Sarah Stennett. What's your question?
Yeah, good morning, Sarah. It is really an honor to speak with you.
Hi.
So I recently moved to LA, and I have been using the fuck the gatekeeper mentality to get my foot in the door at a management company or agency. And what I'm realizing is that new graduates without any music industry experience are getting these positions. And as a woman in this field, do you have any advice for someone like me who has years of industry experience, willing to restart my career at an entry-level position? Maybe another path that I have not considered besides sitting in a lobby almost getting kicked out, which I have done more than once. Do you have any other advice on how to get my foot in the door?
Well, this is a start. You're on Skype to me, so this is a start. You're obviously, you know, very industrious. You're engaged in the business. You know what's going on. I think to be involved in this, you know, what we're doing now online, you're engaged, you're involved, you're watching what's happening. And I think that's really the important foundation of being in the business. You've got to be engaged with it. What I would suggest is, I mean, I don't know what your experience is, what you do. I mean, one of my right-hand directors, a girl called Nadia Khan, I met her. She was a qualified lawyer. She'd done an MBA in one of the most prestigious business schools in Europe. And I actually met her in the bathroom of a toilet at a gig. And she came to me and she was like, look, I really, really would love to have an opportunity to work with you. This is what I've done. And I said to her, you know, let's sit down and have a chat, but I haven't really got any jobs at the moment. And she came in and I said, there's literally, the only job I've got is as a secretary for me. And she was like, I can do secretary. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. I mean, she was academically so qualified. And she came in as my secretary. And as she says to some of the younger kids who work with us, she came in, she was a secretary by day, she was an A&R and digital expert by night, and she sat and she just got in and she you know, passion goes a long, long way. And she just was passionate. And she, then when we were starting to launch Jessie J, I said to her, do you want to be the key person on this with me? And she was like, absolutely. And she did a phenomenal job and is an amazing person. And we are, you know, for me, it is about just being around. The other gal, my other director, Cassandra Gracie, she came from Australia. Probably I met her maybe 16 years ago, and she said, I'd just like to come and meet you and have a coffee with you. And I think I'd cancelled her 3 or 4 times. She was just you know, an email saying, I'd like to come and meet Sarah Stennett. Someone in Australia told me to come and meet her. And I think I'd cancelled it. I was a bit wayward myself in those days. I can't remember, but I cancelled several meetings with her until eventually I walked out and she was sat on the doorstep and she said, are you Sarah Stennett? I said, yeah. She said, I'm Cassandra. I've been trying to see you. Can we go for a coffee? And I was on my way home and I said, sure, yeah. And I sat down with her for 10 minutes. I didn't have any money, but I said, you know what, come in tomorrow. I've got no money. I can't pay for the coffee. If you could pay that. And she came in and she just got in, and even my PA here, Carla, who is sat opposite me, she was working in she came to see me. She said, I'm working in a sandwich shop. And I'm doing 5 days a week, but I'll do 3 days a week, and I'll come back for you for 2. She said, I'll work for you for 2 days a week for free. And after of this, and I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. So she came in 2 days a week for nothing. After a few, I don't know how long, months of this, or I started to notice she was always there, and I was like, okay, this girl means business. So I said, I feel really guilty you working here for nothing. I'm going to pay you for the 2 days a week. She said, if you pay me for 3 days a week, I'll do 5 days a week and I'll do the other 2. And that was it. And so that's really, it's about making yourself available, being useful. It's very, very hard though, because if you haven't, you know, got the money, I understand it's really, really hard to do that. But I know that the people I've got who are working for me are all people who have been really industrious. I've never sat and looked at a CV. You know, most of the people here I've employed on meeting and being instinctive. And I think in all those years, the team has only grown. I think in all those years, we've sacked probably 3 people. Very few people. Once you're in here, you're in. We build a team. So what I would suggest to you is if you send your details to Carla, I will definitely meet you and give you some advice, and we can have a chat and talk about, you know, what you've done, what you're doing, and where you think you can add to a team. How
about that, Liz, huh? You ain't going to get that at the Berklee School of Music, folks.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
I can hear him coming.
Coffee on me, absolutely.
And by the way, if you guys need a couple bucks for coffee, I'll throw in there too. All right?
Thank you.
And hey, by the way, Sarah, I don't want to get us in trouble, but if you get a little too lit up on that coffee, I can handle that too for you.
Well, I'll tell you, here's a big surprise. Here's my husband coming up here.
Speaking of picking your partners, he's not going to be the invisible man if he sticks his head in that shot, are you?
It is the invisible man, Mr. Astasio. I'm on a Skype interview live.
Stick your head in there,
invisible man. Here is invisible man, my husband.
Oh, perfect. There's some showbiz instincts, folks, right there. Oh, God. Hey, you know what? I don't know about that invisible. Oh, there he is. God bless you. You're a handsome man. No wonder she was lighting up there. Perfect. You know? I'm going to ask your husband later on how you work out the manager 50-50, 15-20% thing. That seems pretty complicated there. Well, thanks for sticking your head in there. I love that. All right, Liz, so there's some advice. You made a connection here today. That's awesome. We got a couple other member questions here, Sarah, while we're rolling. You guys are involved in the publishing business as well, right? And yeah. I got some questions from some members. So while we're rolling, let me put one up there. First, thanks, Sarah and Renman, for this opportunity. I love it, when people have good manners, Sarah. It says, Sarah, what are some of the skills a music publisher would typically look for in a young music professional? German, who asked that question, is one of our RenmanU students. Very industrious, very ambitious, and he wanted to make sure I asked this question for him. So, what do you look for on the music publishing side when you're looking to hire somebody?
Well, I would say that, I never look to hire anybody just for one discipline. You're a music publisher, you're in the record part. I expect everyone to be able to, go between different disciplines. We don't just have music publishing as on its own. Nobody just does one job. But if I were a music publisher, I would look for the following qualities. There is a guy actually who's a music publisher based in Los Angeles, and he's known by the name Tubby. And he works for Sony ATV, and he previously to that worked at Interscope with Jimmy Iovine, and he is an amazing publisher. And what's fantastic about him, and I think what the qualities are that are so unique about the way he manages to work with the people he publishes, are that, first of all, he has an amazing demeanor, and people like him. He's very, very likable. And that means that people come to him with opportunities, because it's very important to have a network of people. So that, for instance, so-and-so's looking for songs, or, there's this opportunity to do a soundtrack for a film or whatever it is. So number one is, that's what's amazing about him. He's very personable. He's really smart, very intelligent, emotionally intelligent. He can connect people. He doesn't have an ego. It's about not being too concerned with how is this going to work out for me in the first place. It's just making things happen, putting people together, understanding also, obviously you've got to have an extensive music knowledge, which he has. And the ability to understand what's the difference between just good talent and exceptional, understanding who would work together well, what personalities go together well, and I think it's a very vague answer, that it's not something very specific, but you just have to be passionate and smart, intelligent, personable, and approachable. Yeah. And I think those are the people who end up successful. If you meet someone like Doug Morris, you can go and meet Doug Morris today, and he makes you feel very at ease. It doesn't matter who you are, you feel very at ease with this guy. And he always managed to back the right people, including Jimmy Iovine. So I think that's the answer. So
if I could, ask you, when you're talking about those employees, and I love what you're saying here. You're making me smile all day here. So for the folks out there, would I be safe in saying that when it comes to experience or degree versus great attitude, you're voting for attitude?
I like both. I've got a lot of people here who never went to further education. I have Jamie Lillywhite, for instance, who is
Steve Lillywhite's kid?
Yeah, Steve Lillywhite's kid, Jamie. He dropped out of university, and when he came to see me to see if he could work with me, I was very much, of an opinion like, oh, is this going to be a kid who's got a father who's in the music business and is some sort of self-entitled? That was the sort of thing in reality of how I approached my first sort of meeting with him. But he said, I just want to come and meet you. And he was at university, and he was just really bored. And what I loved about him, he never actually formally dropped out of university. As he said to me, I just stopped going. One day I was like, I don't want to go to that class today. I don't want to go to that class today either. And this goes on for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and it just stopped. He never made an announcement to the university, I'm not coming anymore. It just was over for him because he was not interested, but very, very bright guy. And when he came to see me, within 10 minutes, I was like, this guy is so engaging, so interesting, and had a warmth to him that, and a self-assuredness as well, without being cocky. That was very compelling. And within 10 minutes, I was like, oh my God, you know what? Come in tomorrow. Let's see what happens. And then from there, I said to him, go and find something, that you really, really love and that you're going to wake up and fight for, every day. And let's see how long that takes. And he did his own thing, and he's very measured, Jamie. He's not a guy who's sort of prone to high drama like a lot of us here, sometimes including me. And he came in one day and he was like, I've had this girl, I love her voice. He played me Elli's track. I think she had like a couple of tracks down. And he said, she's playing tonight. I said, well, that's fantastic. You're going to go and see her? Yeah. And he went to see her, and he rang me from the venue, and he said, I think she's just amazing. And I was like, well, don't let her go home. If she's that good. She was at university at the time in Kent. And I said, don't let her go back if you're that passionate about her. And she came in the following morning to see me with her guitar, and she played in the office, and it was some really ridiculous hour, like 9 o'clock in the morning, which none of us were usually, in full play at. But she came in, and she was just so magical, and that was it. We said, we've got an apartment for you to come and live in and leave university, which I very, very rarely tell someone to leave university because it's a huge responsibility to do that. And she dropped out of college. She came to London. She actually lived in the flat just around the corner from the office here. And Jamie shepherded her through. And, my job at that point is to give the support to Jamie and Elli to grow together. Jamie was actually, I think he was like 22 at the time. He's now just recently turned 30. But it's not that he went to university, he dropped out. As I say, I do think that academic prowess, success is also, sometimes a great indicator of someone. Nobody likes studying. Do you know what I mean? For the most part, nobody wants to sit and pore over books of day in and day out. But I think it does show a focus and a determination that you can get from like exam results, that you think, okay, this person is able to punch through the hard times, and I do like that. But it's definitely not the only criteria. Yeah. I think it depends.
It's a small world here, Jamie Lillywhite. What's funny is, are you going to be out in LA on June 28th, Sarah?
I'm not sure. Possibly.
Well, if you are out here, you should come out to our big Renman barbecue. And about a couple of years ago, I met Steve Lillywhite, who I'd listened to all his records when I was growing up in the business. And I asked him to be on the show, and he's like one of the only 2 people that said no. So
really?
Fuck yeah. Okay, so if you're watching Lillywhite, okay, we've had big players on here. So maybe
He's a fantastic guy. I'm surprised because he usually likes to talk. So I don't know, maybe.
Well, he had no trouble
he was
talking.
trying to be on some other show. I don't know that I'm surprised at that. But
yeah,
he's a really nice guy. Maybe you should ask him again.
I think I will ask him again. And I can see that if his son has all that personality, the apple didn't fall very far from the tree. That's for sure. You know?
Yeah.
So, Sarah,
great.
I promised I'd get you out of here close to the hour mark, and so I want to stay true to my word. Now, this morning when we were checking out the Skype connection and doing all the boring, freaking technical stuff, we had a chance to speak to Carla and some of the other folks that worked in your office. And you have a whole bunch of talented, energetic young women working for you. I'm happy to see that Jamie is in there. When you, as a woman working in the music business who's been hugely successful, I have to ask this question. Did you have some unique challenges along the way? Nick Raphael talked about, the difficulty sometimes of working your way through the business as an aggressive business person. If you're a woman, you get called something other than an aggressive person. Did you have challenges that you had to face along the way? And if so, what were they and how did you blow through them? Because you seem to have done just fine.
I mean, people ask me about the challenges as a woman. And I never really noticed I never really noticed that it was challenging as a woman in the music business. And it never was something I paid any regard to. It was like, to me, it's just a fact. There's nothing I can do about the fact that I'm a woman and I'm in the business, and I'm not going to moan about it. And even if that is, prejudice, it's not something that I ever felt was an excuse or a reason why we couldn't do anything. I think that, on the contrary, I think that certainly the women who work here with me, we all feel we feel at an advantage to be women in the business, to be honest. I think that we have a great instinct. I think that quite often women are brilliant jugglers because they're juggling a work life, a home life, relationships. I think that there's, I think, and especially in the music business, there's a nurturing nature in women that I think gives you an advantage in terms of supporting artists and young executives. And I never felt, for my own part, I never felt at a disadvantage, and I grew up in the north of England, in Liverpool. And, I think that, there's regional prejudice, there's, sexual prejudice, there's all sorts of prejudices, that one can encounter. And I really feel that if you start thinking about how you're prejudiced by whatever it is that you can hang on to as that, then it really detracts from it detracts from what you should be doing. You just have to be good. That's it. Yeah, just believe in what you're doing. Believe in your dream and be brave. What I think my biggest advantage was I was never scared, because I never felt I had a lot to lose, because I didn't really have anything to start off with. And, even now, some days I'll say to my husband, who you met me, I can get myself very easy into a headspace of we're fucked, we're not successful, I'm not successful, anybody, I don't care who you are, how successful you are, you have those moments. They're very important moments to understand that, you have, it's a constant challenge to be good at what you're doing, and you need to examine yourself. And for whatever perspective it is that keeps you, grounded and with your feet on the ground and understanding it's hard to be to succeed in any business, whatever you're doing, then I think that's an advantage. And I think there are women who aren't, you know, there's not a lot of women represented in the music business. You know, it is a very, certainly the higher echelons of the music business are very male dominated. But I think that, you know, we're changing that. We're definitely changing that. A lot of the women here have got children and families that they juggle very, very well. And, you know, I think that I just think you just get on with it. You know, it's wartime mentality. Is, you know.
I think it's so refreshing to hear you say that, because I know from my own experience, I agree with Nick Raphael. I had the opportunity to work with some wonderfully talented executives, Michelle Anthony and Polly Anthony and Jackie Saturn and my wife, who was a vice president of a record company. And I can honestly say that they were out there killing it. And it didn't even matter if their name was Sam or Samantha to me when all was said and done. And I think in the real world, people sometimes want to hide behind excuses. And so it's so refreshing to hear somebody that's just, as my old buddy Richard Griffiths used to say, just get on with it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and speaking of getting on with it, I want to keep my promise to you, Sarah, get you out of here for an hour. We could go forever. Just for the record, folks, Sarah didn't think she had an hour in her, and I think we could go for 2 or 3, so I hope you come out here June 28th. I'll slow you down, and we'll spend a little time with some burgers and beers and maybe even a bong load there, Sarah.
That would be great. Well, I'd love to come to your barbecue. I don't drink, but I would love to come and have burgers and hand out bottles of beer.
Yeah, and we have a pool, the whole 9 yards here, and you know, maybe I'll teach you how to play golf as well. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today. You've got some great knowledge to share, and we had a whole bunch of questions and so forth, folks, but we couldn't get to them all today. So thanks so much for joining us. I really do hope to see you again, and I'm very happy that we had a chance meeting there. Where the fuck were we, Sarah? I don't even remember where it was.
We were in Cot. In
Cot, that's right. And it's funny, you know, we went in there, they gave us the first table as you walked in the door, and the maitre d' looked like a little sad, like we were a bunch of fucking losers, Raphael and I. I said, dude, are you kidding me? We're the fucking gatekeepers here tonight, man. We're seeing everybody, including Sarah Stennett. Thanks so much for joining us, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
And tell Lily what I'm going to be calling his dad. Playing him on replay.
I will. You should interview Lily White too. Interview them together.
Oh, that would be awesome. I thought about doing a couple, you know, parent and child in the music business. I got a couple myself that are just starting out as well. So, Sarah, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
All right, perfect. All right, well, that was, goddamn, Code, Kira, did I ever mention how much I love my fucking job, even if we don't make any money? Fuck. God, I know what it's like being in a band now. Before we leave here, I feel compelled, speaking of no pay, that's horrible, isn't it, Kira? To be fucking shamelessly. Code, where do we have up there? Yeah, let's put it up there. Whoa, 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 I fucking, there we go. We've got a course here, folks, for all you folks that are looking to learn the music business. It's called the RenmanU Insider's Guide to Today's Music Business. And it's a great place to learn about the music business. You can find it at www.renmanu.com. And it's a great resource if you're just starting off, and we'll touch on all the big issues of the music business. We had a very successful webinar yesterday that lasted 2 hours, about an hour and 20 minutes of questions. We'll post that on the website, so you can go back and watch the webinar, which will give you all kinds of detail about the course. But I hope you'll check it out. If you're serious about learning the music business, we have a couple ways to learn. What we call our solo version, which is $100, and you'll learn 10 times more, 10 times faster than you'll learn at one of those top universities. God bless them, because I got my kid in one of them. So that's it. Upcoming shows, Cody Romness booked his first big rock show here. Code, take a bow over there. All right. Go to Canvas 4, take a bow, take a fucking bow. Yeah, Cody's been pushing weights with one of the most incomparable, one of the most successful songwriter, producers in the music business. His name is Glenn Ballard, who's written some big-time hits. He's wrote Man in the Mirror. He's worked with everybody from Barbara Streisand to Dave Matthews Band to Katy Perry. He's a real music man, not a music business guy. And so I'm looking forward to meeting with him. That is on what, Wednesday the 24th, Code? 24th. All right. That's it for today's show, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. We are right on an hour, Code. That's 2 in a row, big boy. All right. So I want to thank everybody. I want to thank our wonderful team. I want to thank Buck Duke, who's on the floor here, and Buck, who poked his... Oh, there's Buck. There you are. Hey, what's up, big guy? All right, that's it. My name's Steve Rennie. Let me start again. Hi, my name is Steve Rennie. My name... I need to get the herb. I'm out of here. My name's Renman. This is Renman Live. See you. Much better idea of what your options are when it comes to learning about the music business, and hopefully you're on your way to figuring out what the best option is for you. Now let me tell you why I think our RenmanU Insider